We're good?
It's still going. It's still getting set.
Oh,
Sorry.
you're good.
All right. So that is now streaming, and I'm going to start our recording. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy from the UIS Career Development Center. And today we have our second Career Bits, which will be focused on imposter syndrome. So Career Bits are our peer-to-peer trainings, which are facilitated by our students. And it's part of our month-long celebration of National Career Development Month and our Career Bytes virtual series. We want to give a special shout out to the UIS Student Government Association for their financial assistance in putting this program together. Now I will turn it over to Aika Torres to tell us a little bit about herself and facilitate today's training.
Hello, thank you, Kathy. My name is Aika Torres. I am a first-year grad student studying educational leadership here at UIS, and I also serve as the graduate assistant for the UIS Career Development Center. So this is why I'm here. I'm going to be talking about imposter syndrome and how we can mitigate those feelings and confront it as a whole. So very relevant to today's society. So imposter syndrome. So here's a fun little comic that I found, which says, all these people really seem to have it together, and I still have no idea what's going on. So you might be thinking, this is really familiar to me. Let me give you a little scenario here. So a young woman in her early 20s started her graduate program in education, and this is something that she's dreamed of all throughout her undergraduate career. So she's had these multiple internships at prestigious universities that have taught her all about herself personally as well as professionally. She's worked with hundreds of students in a higher education context. She has experience in mentoring, and she's learned a lot of important skills like leadership, effective communication, and more. So she enters her graduate level classes, virtually, of course, with bright eyes, and she's eager to learn, excited for her first year in the program. And she comes to find out that all of her peers in her classes are older than her, making her the youngest one. So she sees that all her peers are teachers or principals who are all seasoned in this realm of education with years of experience under their belts. So all of a sudden, she starts feeling like she's a fraud and she doesn't belong in this program. This woman feels like she's less capable than others. This woman feels like she doesn't know what she's doing. This woman is me, and what I'm feeling here is imposter syndrome. So take a minute to ask yourself the following questions. 1, do you believe that if I can do it, anyone can? Do you ever feel anxious whenever you receive constructive criticism? When you achieve success, do you ever feel like you didn't deserve that? Do you ever attribute your own success to outside factors like luck, timing, etc.? If you answered yes to any of these, you may relate to feelings of imposter syndrome. So you're probably asking, what exactly is imposter syndrome? It's defined as having these feelings of fraudulence, a fear of being exposed, and the inability to internalize your actual success. So when we have these feelings, we always feel anxious and we feel on edge, feeling like we don't belong and we're not really capable of doing the things that we've done. So when we're feeling like this, we think that other people have high expectations of you that you feel you aren't capable of. We always underestimate ourselves, and we believe that others put too much faith in us. We feel like we're a fraud and that we don't deserve the success that we've achieved, even though there's clear evidence that you are not a fraud. And we often think that we dismiss our own achievements and we attribute them to luck, like I said, or other external factors like timing, or maybe you thought, this was an easy task. If I can do it, anyone can, or that other people were behind your success. So think about your own experiences with imposter syndrome. How did you feel, and what did you do to combat it? Give me some examples that you've had in your life where you realize, I don't know what I'm doing, or do I belong here? Am I really meant to be here right now? Have I actually achieved success, or is it just luck? So if you want to jump in.
Well, for me, sometimes when I do presentations, I often feel like Am I actually helping people learn new stuff, or does everybody already know this and they're just going to be like, what? She's just telling us the same thing over again.
Yeah, I get that. I think for me, just the idea of being in a space where other people have more experience than I do really makes me feel like, what am I doing here? Am I actually capable of doing these things that people expect me to do, even though I know I've done this in the past? I'm kind of thinking to myself, why am I here when other people can do these things way better than I could? Or, I'm new here and I'm not really picking up on things like I should be. What's the best option for me right now? Like, how am I supposed to get over these feelings? Yeah. So, what are some ways that you've kind of navigated those feelings, whether it's in the past or present?
I would say for me, I think the more that I learn about a topic, the more I realize I don't know. So I feel like every time I gain new skills or new information, then it opens up this whole other field of, oh my gosh, now there's this. But I think I've started to make peace with that, and that I really do truly believe that learning is lifelong. And so I've tried to lean into that, and also appreciate that if I, feel I have a certain level of expertise in something, instead of feeling like self-conscious, like, oh, I didn't know that, to be like, oh, I didn't know that. And now it's another opportunity for me to learn. So trying to embrace that, even though I can feel self-conscious or feel like, oh, wow, am I ever going to get to a point where I feel like I've made it or I've got this like expertise? I think I've just kind of tried to reframe my mindset to be like, more it's just an opportunity to learn more, or like see something from a different perspective and kind of take a deep dive from another direction. So trying to just accept that there's always going to be more opportunities to learn, and find joy in that, as opposed to anxiety and trepidation, even though I still have those feelings sometimes too.
Yeah. So the first time I ever heard about imposter syndrome was in my undergrad classes. I majored in psychology. And so growing up, I never really knew what that term meant. So I had these feelings where I was like, am I capable of this? And I always had to meet my family's expectations, because there's a lot of cultural factors that play into this, since I come from an Asian American background, and having immigrant parents who come from a different culture than the one that I live in currently. It's like, I want to meet their expectations, but I feel like I'm not capable of doing that just because I come from such a different world than they do. So going into undergrad, once I learned what imposter syndrome was, I immediately internalized that, and I'm like, okay, can I break down these feelings? What can I do to fight this? And what can I do to help myself realize that, yeah, I am capable of the things that I've achieved? So addressing imposter syndrome is something that is difficult, but it's definitely capable. You're definitely capable of doing that. So it's important to confront your imposter syndrome by talking about your feelings of fraudulence. You can talk about these feelings with your friends or with yourself or with your family, kind of just getting that insight that, yeah, I can do this. I can assure myself that I am capable, I'm smart, I can achieve the things that I want to do if I set my mind to it, if I'm passionate about it, etc. And another way to stop thinking about an imposter will help you stop feeling like an imposter. So if we stop thinking the way that an imposter thinks, then we can begin to stop feeling like an imposter. I think that we need to recognize when our thoughts are kind of getting out of hand, so that we can regain that control and straighten out our thinking and the way that we feel about ourselves and our capabilities. And also, something important that I learned pretty recently, within the last couple of years, is developing a new response to failure and mistake making. So developing a new response to making mistakes can be beneficial for us. Absolutely. I think that we need to remember that, one mistake doesn't define us or our abilities to do well. I think we need to accept that mistakes happen. And when you slip up and you make mistakes, they offer us the chance to better ourselves and bounce back from that. I think learning from where you've slipped up can help you go a long way in life, whether it's in your personal life or your career, etc. Grades, all of that. I know for me, I was awful in psychology at first. It's something I'm passionate about. But I took a class my sophomore year where the first exam, I absolutely bombed. First time I'd ever gotten an F, a literal F. And so here I was thinking, like, am I meant to major in psychology? Is this really what I want to do with my life? And it wasn't until I had a conversation with my professor where he was like, here are some ways where you can bounce back from this. You can meet with me, you can study, you can, read the book more in depth, etc. And so I think putting myself to those goals really helped me go forward within that course and understand, like, yeah, this is something I can do. Just because one mistake messed me up doesn't mean I have to mess up for the rest of the semester. So I ended up getting a B, thankfully, in that class. And that was the first time I really realized that, yeah, if I can put my mind to this and I have the drive and the determination to do it, I can be successful. And this isn't something that's, out of luck. It's something that I can work hard at, and I can really feel that I've been successful. So some resources that I've come across that talk about imposter syndrome are, one, a podcast by Kim Menninger, who is a life and leadership coach. And she has a podcast called The Impostor Syndrome Files. I started listening to it on Spotify. So that's been pretty helpful for me, just to understand, hear from another perspective what imposter syndrome means for others. Another website is impostorsyndrome.com, which has a lot of blog posts, and they offer like articles and books about what imposter syndrome means and how you can mitigate that. And then also an article that I came across that was pretty recently, within the last year, actually 2019, was Prevalence, Predictors, and Treatment of Imposter Syndrome. And that kind of talks about how there's a lot of people who experience imposter syndrome and what are the symptoms, quote unquote symptoms, and how prevalent it is in our society. So treating that is something that we can all do, and it just takes a lot of work to retrain ourselves to think, yes, I am capable. I can do the things that I set my mind to. So I think that's really important for a lot of people in today's world, especially because we're so self-conscious about the way that people think about us that we forget to take care of ourselves and think about our own abilities and what we can do and pursue in life. So that's something that's helped me gain perspective. And I hope that this presentation has helped you all gain perspective as well. Thank you.
It sounds like making use of kind of resources on campus and in the community is part of what helps in kind of overcoming this or mitigating this.
Yeah, exactly. And something that a resource that I've used on campus is counseling, because I have this really, I'm very self-conscious about the way that others think about me. So something that I'm trying to do to tell myself is just journal and write out my feelings, like, why do I feel this way? And then I have to make a list to remind myself, like, what I've done, what I've accomplished, and why I do deserve to feel successful because I've worked so hard at it. So I think counseling has really helped me get back on track with the way that I feel about myself and my own success. Yeah.
As you were doing your research, did you find anything that said certain types of people or certain populations are more likely to experience this than others?
I did come across an article that said women, especially women in STEM, have a lot of imposter syndrome just because they're immersed in a culture that's male dominated. And so when these women are within a culture that's, prevalent with men, it's like they feel, do I belong here? Am I actually as capable as these men who, have come so far like I have? Or am I just a fluke? Am I just faking it till I make it, essentially? Which I found really interesting because psych is more of a social science, but one of my best friends is a bio major, and most of her classmates are all men. And so she feels that, is she actually as smart as them, or, is she going to be as successful or more successful than them? So she finds herself having to rely on herself, but also utilizing resources like her professors, kind of to reassure her that she is doing well, that she's going out of her way to be successful and learn about what she's passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found in your research or just thinking about this, are there any benefits to feeling imposter syndrome sometimes in terms of just continuing to seek opportunities to grow and learn, or again, kind of how I framed it before in terms of trying to be open to that, or is it more generally just considered a negative thing to overcome?
I haven't come across any research that specifically says that, but I think it's beneficial for everyone to realize their feelings of imposter syndrome because you can grow from it, because you can bounce back from those feelings and then move forward thinking, yes, like I can overcome these feelings because I'm capable and I'm driven, and this doesn't define me. Making mistakes doesn't define me. I shouldn't have to compare myself to others to feel worthy of something or like I'm successful. Success is within yourself, and as long as you're feeling like you can do anything you can set your mind to, the rest doesn't matter. Other people's opinions don't matter as long as it's within yourself that you feel confident and capable in.
I definitely appreciated what you had said earlier about kind of learning from mistakes and kind of seeing that as an opportunity, because I feel like there's definitely been a trend or just kind of a change in language in the term of like failure, like fail forward, and these ideas in terms of like startup culture and like iterating and reiterate, just kind of continuing to adapt and evolve. And I feel like there's maybe a bit of a culture shift around that. Before I think the word fail always scared like, oh, fail, and I don't want to fail. But now it's like, okay, no, I'm failing forward, or I'm, reiterating this, or I can recalibrate. I can look at this from a different perspective. And I think that's exciting to see. I mean, I don't know if there's a scientific nature to that yet, or if that's maybe a research field that's out there, but I feel like there's definitely a bit of a shift in terms of this idea of, again, kind of failing forward or using that as a learning tool.
Yeah, like something I have to remind myself is if I fall, then I fall. But that doesn't mean I can't get back up and keep moving forward and take the steps necessary to get myself to where I want to be. It's not about the destination, it's the journey.
Great. So we're coming to the end of our time period, and I just wanted to check whether there are any other questions out there. I don't see any questions being presented. So I will ask one final question, Aika. I know that you work in the Career Center. So if students are feeling challenged by this, would you be open to them reaching out and talking with you a bit more about it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is what I'm here for. I want to help guide people and, navigate those feelings that I have and I still have. So I think relating to each other, peer to peer, that'd be beneficial for me, but also for the people who want to learn more and who want to overcome these feelings.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
so for those who might be watching the recording, we do have one more Career Bits occurring tomorrow, and we have some additional programming coming up. So feel free to check out go.uis.edu/careerbytes so that you can see what those are. And of course, you can visit our main website at uis.edu/career. We're going to go ahead and stop the recording for now.